Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
In today's podcast, we're covering a very underrated film called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Now, this is another one of my absolute favorite films. This film puts together the heroes from the various H.G Wells novels as Avengers-like team that must stop a greater evil.
Yes.
And Bennett Dudley loves it too.
Right. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, post notification updates on future podcasts and monopause videos.
Absolutely. Yes, I can't believe we haven't done this before now. And this is the perfect month to do it. And what I really love is the idea of these characters, all except for Alan Quartermain, who were seen as anti-heroes or sometimes not so good guys, and they end up forming this league where they have to save the world.
Yeah.
Reluctantly, but they do.
Yes. And this was long before we had the Avengers movie, so this was technically the first of its kind like this, putting together lots of book characters together as a team. And I think it really goes really under radar because they weren't comic characters or people from pop culture. They were from, I think now, public domain books. So it's not really as well known as something like fairy tales or something from Charles Dickens or anything. So this was really something different to put on the screen.
You had the biggest star, of course, was the one who played Alan Quartermain.
Mm-hmm.
You should know who he is by now.
Sean Connery, that's it.
Yes, and again, he was the biggest star, and he played Alan Quartermain, and he was the one who was the wisest and kind of the one who put everyone else together.
Yeah.
Then you had the other characters from, as you said, H.G. Wells and stories, The Invisible Man.
Right.
We had the Portrait of Dorian Gray. Now that was an interesting character to have in here. I'd never seen that character in any other movie.
Right.
Back in the, I want to get it right, I think it was the 50s, they made a movie called The Portrait of Dorian Gray. And if you don't know the story, this is a man that makes a deal with the devil. And he stays beautiful and youthful as long as he doesn't see his portrait. Mm-hmm. The portrait ages instead of him.
Right.
At the end of the movie, he ages and dies because some woman he's pissed off ends up uncovering the painting, and he looks at it. But this character is in the movie.
Right.
He also had a couple more.
Jekyll and Hyde and Captain Nemo.
That was really interesting to have in here too.
Right. And I think
you had a
vampire.
You had a vampire. And I think that was it, right? No, and the Invisible Man.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And the Invisible Man. So this was an interesting cast of characters. And the villain here was Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, sure was. And it was also created by Alan Moore, who's well known for making Watchmen and some other darker stories. And it's odd that this is not really high on radar for a lot of people. It looks like the only thing they really associate him with is Watchmen because that's his greatest work. But, it's worth looking at some of these other movies or adaptations of his other books, or for like V for Vendetta and From Hell and some others.
Yes.
And I think it's because this was not considered, it wasn't really a box office. I think it was more of a flop.
It's actually a cult favorite now because people like Ben and I love this movie.
Okay.
So, but yes, you're right. It wasn't as successful as they had hoped, and I think it's because people didn't understand what it was.
Right, and it's for ones who really don't get it. It's considered like a so bad it's fun movie, but I really can't really see it like that because it was too much effort put into it. It's not like it was so half done that you can't laughing at them trying. They really were trying and taking it seriously. So I think it's one of the few times I have to disagree with that. They're claiming that's the type of movie it is because I didn't really find it laughably bad. I think it was like a really underrated film.
Well, personally, I didn't see it that way. And from what you were telling me about the author, who's I really know anything about, you're the one who told me about the stories he'd done. And I said, wait a minute, From Hell, that's Johnny Depp. That's one of my favorites. And A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And I was just stunned that this one man had written that and The Watchmen and the others.
Right.
And I didn't know that. But I didn't see it that way. I absolutely love it. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. I don't take it as a joke or something to make fun of. I think it was a great concept. I really, to this day, haven't seen anything like it, where you put these characters together that really don't go together in one movie all with one goal to save the world.
Right.
And if you remember, it's crossing over from one century to the other within a 2 year span.
Right.
They cross over from the 1800s to the 1900s.
Right.
And I don't want to tell you the end, but the end, the way it seems, it's like there should have been a sequel.
Yes, they do hint at that at the end, and it just never happened. So who knows what would have been the next story?
Right. And there was also another character who was an American, and I think, I don't remember his name. He wasn't Billy the Kid, but his name was Billy something, and he was someone that Alan Quartermain was teaching how to shoot the gun.
Yes.
Shoot a rifle.
Right.
Because he's an expert marksman. He could hit things from so many hundreds of miles away, just dead on.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know how to shoot. He says, "Oh, you shoot the American way. You just shoot enough bullets and you'll eventually hit something. And let me teach you how to shoot properly." And Alan Quartermain's son had gotten killed.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see where he was treating him like his son, and he didn't want to. But he was such a nice guy that that's the way he was taking him.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of drama. There's mystery if you haven't seen it before. There's suspense. There's lots of action. There's a little romance between Dracula and Dorian Gray. Believe it or not, it's just got so much in it, and I think it's such a fun watch. And I like a lot of the special effects, and I also like this version of Nemo. Usually Nemo has not been played by someone who's Middle Eastern, and this time in the movie Nemo was Middle Eastern, and I didn't realize until this movie that the character was written that way.
Right.
It's just a really fun movie. If you've never seen it, this is one I really recommend. It's off the radar, and it is quite a bit. It was made in the 2000s.
Yes, that far back.
So it's something that you would literally have to buy. You might find on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's there. We own it, had to own it. And it's just really a fun movie with a fun take, a different take, interesting take on a superhero team.
Right. And it says like the Avengers, it really is, because you think on how each character is. You have the entire Avengers team from 2012 basically done in 1900s. Each one actually fits the Avengers you have now. Like they were the original Avengers. And it's so funny that Deli even did a cast video for the film where the Avengers are the Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes. And I think for the special effects, it's so funny when I think about this movie. I think about the first live action Full Metal Alchemist and how they were trying to do the effects. And I said, this movie did it many years before, and they did a much better job on the effects with the cascading, crashing buildings and stuff coming down than they did in that movie.
Right.
And I was like, this is what Full Metal Alchemist should have been.
Right.
But if you have seen The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, please let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you love it as much as I do? And if you don't care for it, let me know why. If you're familiar with the other works of Alan Moore, let us know if you've seen the other movies, and if you'd like to have a podcast on any of them, because I don't think we've done any of the others at all, although we've watched 3. I've watched 4 of them actually.
Right.
And if you haven't seen it, again, you'll have to buy it probably on Amazon or a secondhand store or something like that to find it. But it is really worth the effort in finding it, buying it, and watching it. I promise you, it will quickly become one of your favorite movies. It's under the radar, and it's very underappreciated.
Yes.
It's a movie that should have gotten a lot more love and made a lot more money than it did.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, weekly videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.